It's strange how digital silence can sometimes feel warmer than real conversations. You ever notice how some games make you feel alone, but not lonely? Not in the depressing, empty way, but in that quiet, reflective kind of way that almost feels safe. There are games where you're the only one there. No teammates yelling in your ear, no chat, no constant notifications, just silence, story, and space to breathe. And somehow those moments have a way of making you feel more understood than the real world ever does. For me, that feeling lives in games like Firewatch, What Remains of Edith Finch, Road 96, Bioshock, Bloodborne, and even Divinity Original Sin 2. They don't necessarily fill the silence, they let you sit in it, and that does something to you. Firewatch is basically loneliness wrapped in the prettiest sunset you've ever seen. You're isolated in the Wyoming wilderness, talking to one person through a walkie talkie who you never actually see. And somehow, those conversations feel more genuine than most of the ones you have face to face. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, it's quiet. And in those quiet moments, you're forced to hear your own thoughts, maybe for the first time in a long time. Then there's Edith Finch, a game where you're literally walking through memories of people who aren't here anymore. You're alone in that house, but never really by yourself. Every room is a life, every object is a memory, and even though the entire game is about death, the loneliness in it doesn't push you away, it pulls you in. You're not surrounded by people, but you're surrounded by stories, and stories can be louder than company. Road 96 gives you that strange freedom of being alone but on the move. It's the kind of loneliness that feels like running, not from others, but towards something you can't name yet. You meet strangers, but they come and go. You never know who's safe, who's hurting, or who's just pretending. And even though the journey is unpredictable and disconnected, it feels weirdly human. It's almost like the game is reminding you being alone doesn't mean you don't matter to anyone. Bioshock might not seem like a lonely game at first. There's gunfire, voice logs, chaos, philosophy. But the deeper you go into Rapture, the more you realize how empty it really is. You're surrounded by the ghosts of people you've never met. Their voices echo through tape recordings. Their failures are written on the walls. You're walking through the ruins of ambition. And even in all that decay, you don't feel abandoned. You feel like you're witnessing something that was meant to be remembered. That kind of solitude isn't cold, it's honest. And then there's Bloodborne, a game that barely even acknowledges your existence. No dialogue, no guidance, just you, the fog, and things that want you dead. But there's a weird beauty in that loneliness. The world doesn't hold your hand, it just quietly waits for you to understand it. And the deeper you go into Yarnum, the more you stop feeling like a player and start feeling like you belong there. Not because it's welcoming, but because it doesn't pretend to be anything it's not. Lastly is Divinity Original Sin 2. What's funny about this game is that it isn't technically a lonely game. You can play it with others, but it still has this strange way of making you feel isolated in the world, even when you're surrounded by companions. You're dropped into a world where every character has their own secrets, motives, and past lives you'll never fully understand. You're making choices that no one else can carry for you. And even with a party, it doesn't always feel like a group adventure. It feels like your journey and everyone else is just passing through it. There's something quietly overwhelming about exploring its world at your own pace, reading notes left behind, stepping into forgotten ruins, hearing lore about people long dead. You're not alone mechanically, but emotionally, it still gives you that same introspective silence games like Firewatch or Edith Finch do. It's the kind of loneliness that comes not from absence of company, but from the weight of the choices you have to make by yourself. So, why do these games feel less lonely than real life sometimes? I think it's because loneliness in real life often comes from feeling unseen. But in these games, you're not ignored. You're acknowledged through the world itself. They don't fill the silence with pointless noise. They let you exist without asking you to perform. They don't avoid the heavy feelings. They design around them. And somewhere in the middle of all that isolation, you start to feel connected again. Not to NPCs, not to characters, but to yourself. Maybe loneliness isn't the absence of people. Maybe it's the absence of meaning. And these games, they remind you that even in silence, there's something worth listening to. If you've ever sat alone in a game world and felt strangely understood by it, you're not weird, you're not broken, you just found connection in a different language. And honestly, there's nothing lonely about that at all. If you could relate or connected with this video at all, let me know in the comments and give me a game that quietly changed you. I'd love to hear your stories. Thanks for watching and see ya.